Alright, a good part to start is on this frame right in the center here. I took a minute and I marked the centers of where I want to put these. This is 12 from this end over, 12 and 1/8 would be the center mark. So I go from this end, 12 and 1/8, that end for 12. You'd think it'd be centered, but it's actually not centered. It has to do with the grooves on the side. Then I mark the center of this. So I made a mark on the center of this. So I have my two pieces that rabbit, this is called a rabbit joint on both sides. Those go in the middle. And then I have my piece that's 15 inches long that has a rabbit going the whole way. That goes on the end. So these both are 15 inches on the ends. These ones in the middle are 11 1/4, and these longer ones are 37 1/2. So I just like to start at one corner. If you can find a clamp, that'd be great. Otherwise, maybe you can put something heavy on there or just hold it with your hand. So I'm going to find you a driver bit. This is a 6-inch long number 2 driver bit and some fine head screws. So these are fine screws with a square head on them. They work great for this. They're 1 1/4 long. So I'll just position myself. I'm trying to keep the angle of the drill low. And I'm going to push hard on the back of the drill, but I'm going to go light on the trigger. And then I'll tighten that down. So one thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep the angle of the drill correct. I'm trying to go low on the variable speed triggers, just real easy on that, but I'm pushing pretty hard on the back of the drill. So then I can move on to the center one. So I'll position that, a good way to help you be successful. I try not to put my hand in the path of this driver in case I slip, because it will give you a pretty nasty gouge on your hand. So you're trying to avoid that if you can. So I just go on with that one. This one's still a little bit loose. Sometimes you'll have to tighten that back up. So I'm just trying to keep my hand if it slips. I'm trying, like the clamp was in my way that time, but if you get it to where it could slip off and hit you, that's really gonna hurt. So I'm just gonna work my way around now and put those, you screwed together this frame, you wanted your pocket holes going down, and you match them up with this. So notice my vertical pocket holes are all going down, and that's what. All right, my next goal is, after I have my frame done, I'm checking to make sure these are the right size. It should be 12 inches. I should be able to take my mirror. It should just fit right in there. Remember, the mirror is really sharp around the edges, so wear some gloves or I'm using a pinch grip right now. But your mirror should fit equally as good in all 3 spots. Okay, so once you get to that point, you're ready to put this top edger board on. This is just to give it more weight on the top, make it look a little bit nicer on the top. So what I did is I found the 2 centers. So I measured, found the center of that board and the one underneath, and I made a mark. So that's what I'm lining it up with. You want to make sure that these pocket holes are still going down, because that's how it's going to help you hook on the bottom shelf. So make sure these pocket holes are going down instead of going up. So when I connect these 2 boards, I'm just using the small finish nails. And one thing that will help out is, in your kit, I'll cut one of the heads off the nails. So I'll use my cutters here, and I'll clip the head off the nail. So now you can put this in the drill bit and use that to pre-drill your hole, because this is oak. You're not gonna be able to pound a nail right through this, I don't think. So you're gonna want to pre-drill, and then you're gonna take your driver bit that I gave you, and just put that on the nail head and then tap it down so the nail head is a little below the surface, and then you could maybe add a little wood fill there. Or they seem to blend in better when they're just a little below the surface. 1/4. So I went 4 and 1/8, 8 and 1/4, 8 and 1/4, 8 and 1/4, 8 and 1/4, and it should work out either way. So that's kind of where I went. And then I measured them down the center. So I marked the center, the halfway point on the center. And then I'm going to take my hammer. And I could take one of the screws and I would just put it right at that intersection and just tap the screw in there so it gives you a nice little dent, and that will help your drill bit start a little better. So I go all the way down that. The holes for the pegs are going to be a 1/2 inch diameter, and what you're trying to do is drill as straight as you can with this. So one thing I might do is, you know, if you have a square or any straight edge that you can put up against the drill, you're just trying to really get a good idea of what that would be at 90 degrees. So this will be probably one of the hardest parts of this whole project, is drilling these holes straight. I mean, obviously if you have a drill press, that would be a little better choice. But I think you can kind of look down the drill and eye it up pretty good. So you're going to be drilling a ways are 1/2 inch in diameter, but they're about 5/8. The shoulder's about 5/8 down. So you know, this board is a little thicker than 3/4 or about 3/4. So you're pretty much drilling all the way through this board. I mean, you can pretty much drill through the board. So you're going to drill your peg holes there. Now the next step I want to do is I'm going to put the shelf is going to go on this. So that little ledge shelf will go on here. And what I did right here is I did a counter bore. And the counter bore needs to be as deep as the screw, so the screw head, so a little over 1/8 inch. So I just spaced them out and I used 4 counter bores. And I did that with a 3/8 diameter drill bit. So I used a 3/8 diameter drill bit for that. And now I'm going to use a pilot hole drill bit. So this is a 3/8 or 3/16, I'm sorry, diameter drill bit. It could be a different size. And my goal here is to drill all the way through the board now. So I would just go through here and drill all the way through. So what I want is for my screws to just drop right through this first board. So that screw should just drop all the way through. The head should be flush, and then that will work out pretty good to start connecting these. So I'm going to do that. I have 2 more to do here. Do one more here. And then one more here. Now the spacing this way isn't that important on these, but up and down you want the center to be about 3/8. So from the edge of this board to the center of the hole is going to be about 3/8 of an inch. And that ends up being about the center of this, because this is 3/4, so about half of that. So now my goal is going to be to screw this on to this piece. Now, things that would make this easier is if you put a block of wood here. So I could take some blocks of wood and put it underneath here. I think a 2x4 would almost be exactly the right size. So I just grabbed a little chunk of 2x4 and it was exactly the right size. Now what I also did on the back is I made 2 center marks, and I have to line those center marks up. So I just found the center of both boards because I want the same amount of overhang on each side. So I'm just kind of lining that up. Whenever I'm hooking together 2 long boards like this, I like to work my way down. I'm going to grab another block of 2x. So what I mean by that is I'm going to put back on my driver bit. Okay, I'm going to get a couple of screws ready here. And I'm going to make sure I'm lined up again, which I am. And my goal here is to just put 1 screw in. Okay, and then I'm going to bend this top board over a little bit so it's nice and flush. So my boards are just a tiny bit warped, so I'm just going to bend it over to make sure it's nice and flush. Okay, so I'm going with that. Looks pretty good. This back one is probably where it's bent the worst. I have to grab 1 more screw. So I'm putting this back one on. So now I have this put together. So now that I have this ledge here, you know, maybe this would help me with my drilling because it'd give me an angle to look at when I'm trying to drill a nice straight hole. So I'll drill those holes in, and then Alright, I'm ready for my final assembly here. So what I did is I just put some scrap boards under here just to boost it up so it's level. I wanted to make sure these are lined up, so this piece should be lined up with this piece. And then I tossed my clamp on there. You don't really need a clamp. You could just have someone hold it, or you can hold it, or get some tape, or just work your way down. So I'm going to put my 4 screws in here, get those ready to go. Okay, then I'm going to grab my drill, and I'm trying to get these as flush as I can. There's one. Working my way down. There's 2. 3. 'Alright. So now I'm pretty much ready to do some sanding here. So I got this pretty much ready to go. I need to do a little bit of touch-up work and some sanding. And one thing you might do is take your sandpaper and put it on a block of wood and make yourself a little sanding block. So you can go through and get off any of the stall marks that are still on. Okay, take your time on that. You can get these joints very level. You can take this, and this one you're going to kind of want to swirl a little bit. Okay, you try to knock off that corner, and then you'll go this way with it. So once you swirl it a little bit, you're going to go vertical, or you're going to try to keep your sanding going with the grain. So you just want to make sure you don't get the scratches across those grains, or it's going to really show up when you go to put a finish on it. So what I was going to do, and I'll put a picture of this at the end of the video, is I was going to put a photo mat here and a photo mat here, and then the mirror in the middle. So when you get ready to put these pegs in, put glue around here, okay, not on the end. Just put it around here, and then tap it in. You'll have to tap it into the hole a little bit. And you want your goal here is to get it down till it hits that shoulder. So you're going to try to drive the peg in. You might want to put a block of wood over the peg when you're doing this, because otherwise you're probably going to mess up the peg a little bit. So that will make that a little bit easier. Now the last step on this is hanging it. Okay, getting it to where it hangs up nice. So on the back I'm going to make you some keyhole slots. So this is my keyhole router bit, and I just wanted you to see kind of what it looks like here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a slot so you can use these deck screws to help hang this up on your wall. So what I did is I found the center here again, and I went 16 inches on each side of that, so it would line up with your wall studs. Because this is probably going to get a little bit heavy, you're going to want to line it up with your wall studs. That way it's not going to rip right through the drywall. So this is my little keyhole bit, and I'll make these in here for you so you don't have to do it. Turn it on. Okay, so now it makes this little slot. So you put your screw in, and then it will just slide down on the screw. The biggest thing is when you put the screws in your wall, you're going to have to measure real carefully that you hit it right at 16-inch center. So I'll put these two 32 inches apart. So then here's your screw, because this is a really big deck screw. You might want to pre-drill that into your wall. So find a drill bit about the diameter of the shank of the screw. Pre-drill that so these go in a little bit easier. These will also go in with your square head driver that I'm giving you. So just to give you another example of what this is like, all right, so then the screw would just go into the wall and then it would hang on to this. So I'll try to get a little closer. The screw head will go in there and then it will just hold this in place. You only have to, the screw head will have to stick out of the wall about that far. About that much, the screw head's going to stick out. I want to give you a little better view of what this would look like done. I just put 3 mirrors in there instead of the picture mats because I don't have those yet. I'm going to probably order those. But I wanted you to kind of see, you know, what this is looking like. So it looks really good now. I think it really finishes up with all the pegs in. And when you put the pegs in with the glue, you're going to want to wipe off any glue around there like right away. Maybe even a wet paper towel, like damp, to get any extra glue off, because that will hinder your finish. So, you know, I'm hoping that you put some type of clear coat on here, or a stain, or even a paint. You probably want to do that before you put the mirrors in. I want to show you on the back, when you put the mirrors in, I just used some tape just now just to show you. But you're going to want to take probably some caulk, probably like clear silicone, some clear caulk. So when you put the mirror in, or the whatever you decide to put in here, I might just run a small little bead of clear caulk around this rabbet joint here, and then you just set this on top of that and let it dry overnight. And that you might have to put a little bit of weight on there, nothing real heavy, but that will help that cure and then hold it in place really nice. Another thing to think about is with the mirrors, if you scratch this black part of the back of the mirror, the scratch will go all the way through on the front, and it won't look good because this is almost like a tin foil that they just glue on the glass. So that will hinder the overall look. But I just kind of wanted to show you a completed version of this again.